to record to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, right. I'll unshare for a sec. Great.
Okay, and we'll back out and then we'll start. Okay. Ready to roll?
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 24.
24.
Right? 24. Can you believe that?
All right.
I would say halfway through, but I have no idea when we're going to finish this. So it's 24, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, we're in chapter 4, and there are
and we've only done
50 chapters in the first book of Bereshit, but there's so much in it.
And
There's
we've only done
so
24 sessions. Okay. Welcome to another word of Torah. I'm Rod Bryant. Moshe Abrahams or Avrahams. It depends on how you want to say it. If you're from some parts of the country, you might want to say Avrahams. If you're from Israel, you'd say Avrams. So I don't know. You pick your poison. How would you prefer to be chosen to be called? Besides not late.
Well, I'm used to just oi, yo.
Oi, yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll settle for Moshe. That's
take it away. Okay, good. Well, welcome to another session. We're gonna have a great time. Sorry about the absence occasionally, but during certain high holy days, it just makes it difficult to make it into class or into the podcast. So we're back again on this day. We hope you're having a wonderful week and going to have a beautiful week coming. So let's go ahead and get started. We're in Genesis, the 4th chapter. And we had just come out of doing a bit of examination on conjugation or something, right?
Yeah. Maybe we should every now and again slip in a little bit more grammar, and
yeah,
because you can get so much grammar as you go through from the text itself, can't you? But
right.
Sometimes you want to do a deep dive.
Right. But anyway, we're back at it. We're back in the text. What verse are we in right now? We're in
7 in verse Zion.
Yeah.
And Zion's the 7th letter of the alphabet, so that's why we use it for
there
the
you
numbers.
go.
And it kind of looks like a 7 in this
font. Yeah, coincidentally it does.
So we're starting here with God talking to Cain, not commonly known as Cain in English, and Cain is his name, and he's just got himself in a bit of a tantrum. He's got a bit grumpy because him and his brother they both brought a mincha offering. Actually, Cain brought the first one,
right?
But God seemed to react very positively to his brother's offering. His brother who brought the best of the flock and the cream and the best of that and the best of, with this enthusiasm and heartfelt, and he brought an offering too, but there's something about it that was lacking, so he got angry.
Yeah,
and
somewhat lackluster is what we
yes, that's it. But we discussed last time that there is a possibility that the reason God didn't pay it attention was because he already saw this tendency towards anger in the heart of Cain. And he wanted to have a talk with him about it. So now he's seen he's getting angry, and he's saying to him, why is your face fallen, and why have you become upset? And then we start with this funny little word here, which I really like, because this sounds like, hello.
Hello.
And, hello. And it doesn't come up that often, but it's a really nice word.
No,
because this is a very unusual hey here. This is a rare hey that means it turns this word into a question.
Mm-hmm.
Right, this is a forced questioning hey, because lo here, lamed vav aleph, is actually the same word as lo lamed aleph, which means no.
Right.
So this is saying, isn't it so? Which again sounds like a very English question. Is it verily not?
Isn't it so?
Hello, do you doubt that it is such?
Right.
And that's the kind of gubbins going on here. The if, tetiv, if you will do good, because tov is good. So tetiv is that you will do good. Yeah, absolutely. And so aleph with im with an aleph means if, im with an ayin means with, but im with an aleph means if you do good, sate, it will be nasa. Now the best way, I'm talking to Rod here. Now Rod's in Houston, so he knows all about NASA.
Right.
And the job of NASA is they are schleppers. They are the most important scientific schleppers. All they do all day long is schlep stuff up into the sky.
Right.
They schlep scientific equipment. They schlep scientists. They put them up in the sky and they leave them up there to do experiments. So the way to remember what NASA means, it means to lift, bear, carry, or take upwards. Right. So if you do good, it will be lifted, it will be accepted, it will be brought up to God. V'im lo tetiv, and if you don't do good, and then God doesn't finish the sentence, he leaves it open because you can finish it yourself. It's not going to be accepted. So the point that God's making here is, don't get angry at me, mate. If you think that I've done something wrong, maybe you've done something wrong. He's questioning his arrogance to immediately get, we're talking about the infinite, the all-knowing, the all-powerful source of the universe. If you don't like what he's done, think a little bit. Just a minute. Just give it a bit of cop on. Because he goes on to say, this could be the consequence of not doing good. This could be the second part of that sentence. Im lo tetiv, lepetach chatat ravetz, to the opening, because of course we don't say a delet, which is a door, because he's not living in a brick house, he's living in a tent. So the equivalent of door would be the opening. Right. So to the opening, la petach chatat, sin, ravetz, will stretch itself out and lie down. Mm-hmm. That doesn't sound very good. If you don't do good, you're inviting further sin into your environment. So the idea that when we met the Nachash in the story of this guy's parents, and God kind of, he tell them that you're going to have to get a job and you're going to start having babies, but the snake, which represents the desire to do the other thing that God doesn't want, right? He says you're going to trample on it. It's still going to be around. It's always going to be there. The desire to do the wrong thing is always going to exist, but it says it will snap at your heel and you will stamp on its head. Right. Now, in a fight, if you have a choice between being the one who snaps at the heel or the one who stamps on the head, you'd rather be the one who stamps on the head. Of course. God took the legs of the Nachash to make it low down. He cursed it to eat dust and be by the ankle to make it vulnerable to you, to make it easier for you to defeat. Obviously, it's metaphorical. Right. It's saying, if this is low down, you can beat it. And this is what he's saying now. He's saying, if you do good, you'll be elevated. If you do bad, sin will crawl in the doorway of your house. Go ahead, sorry.
So I find something quite interesting. That first of all, the metaphoric imagery of sin laying on the floor, it's almost like he's saying, look, your actions is rolling a red carpet out for more misdeeds. Yeah. Plenty of opportunity, but you can choose not to do that. And I find something really interesting. Hashem asked him, why are you crestfallen? Me thinking, or, almost trying to teach him something, saying, you just gave an offering and you're down. You're not joyous. What's wrong with you? Which meant the problem wasn't so much the offering as what was inside of him and what was going on with him when he gave that offering. Like something was wrong from the very fundamental part of that, which is something we've learned in Judaism, is that our mitzvahs are great, but they need to be done with intent. It needs to be done with the proper intent. Like, I'm going to give all this money to this guy so I look good. I mean, sure, the guy benefited, but that not really is going to count much as a mitzvah to you if you did it for the wrong reason, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, why are you doing it? Are you doing it to curry favor, to get favors from the creator of the universe?
Right, so this is where this concept starts unfolding, yes.
Absolutely. No, I love it, absolutely. And as well, like you say, that it's at the doorway, it's not in the house yet. No. What are you going to do? Are you going to push it out, or are you going to invite it in? So there's a great discussion by the Rambam. I'm a big Rambam fan. Oh, yeah. Rambam, thank you, man. Love that. everything he's got to say. If I can comprehend it, I'm in. So one of the things he says is, why should a person behave morally? Like, why? Like, are you doing it because you're scared of God? Are you doing it because you love God? Are you doing? And his answer is kind of surprising. He says, out of respect for your intelligence.
Oh, that's good. I've not read that before. That's good.
He goes on to say, the implication being rather, that you know what's right and what's wrong. Correct. Everyone knows when they're doing something wrong. So what does a person do in order to kind of get past that? Well, they start to lie to themselves. they start to say, well, it's not really stealing because it's insured, or okay, I'm talking about someone's behind their back, but they don't know, or they start coming up with all these reasons to justify whatever it is that they're doing wrong,
Right.
and then they go down that thing where they start to twist their logic, and then you get really messed up. And God here is saying, listen, by the fact that you got angry, now sin's in the doorway. What
Right.
are you going to do next?
Right. Got to make a choice.
Yeah, and if you keep
Right.
on doing good, you keep on becoming gooder and stronger and better and freer.
So is the
And if you keep
case
on doing
for
bad,
every human being that lives on this earth.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
Beautiful.
So we're in verse.
So this is in verse 7 of chapter 4, and he says, Va'alecha, and to you, teshukato. And shuk, if you've ever been to the market, if you've ever been to the shuk, you know that the shuk is all about desire. It's about creating desire in you to buy stuff that you probably weren't going to buy anyway. Right? It's about increasing that desire. So to shukato means it will desire. He will desire you, right? So alecha, and to you, he will desire. Va'ata, and you, timshal bo. And this is really important, because mashal does not mean to rule. That's yimloch, right? He will rule is yimloch, right? So we say about God, Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch lo olam va'ed. He rules, he ruled, he rules, he will rule. But this is mashal, which is to govern, like the government. Right?
Okay, so it's different.
So you can govern it. Yeah, because if you could rule over sin, then that's it. The struggle is over. But it's more like an addiction.
That's good. It means it's something that has to be treated and dealt with regularly. It's not like you can master it. It's just something you're going to have to deal with. It's
not like it's one and done. It's going to still be there, but God says you can govern it. You can succeed in this, right? And bo, by the way, bo with an aleph means to come, but bet vav, this is a prefix and a suffix. The prefix bet means in or with, and the vav, wearing a little yarmulke, means him or it. So it means you will rule. Sorry, I made that mistake. You will govern with it. That means you can never destroy it, but you can always win. You're always in a position to win. I once, I did Yom Kippur in Manchester 1 year, and I had this wonderful lecture from this rabbi, and he was talking about how he left Manchester and he was supposed to go down to do a lecture in London the previous week, and he thought he knew where he was going. He was an American rabbi. He came to Manchester for the lecture, and he pulled out and he turned left, and he started down the road, down the motorway, and he was the highway, and he was driving down the highway. And he was going, and then he realised he was going north instead of south. He should have been going south, and he should have been going north. And he was devastated because he'd been going hours, and he's just thinking, well, now I've got the journey from Manchester to London plus all these other hours that I've done, right?
So he's done hours.
He'd got a couple of hours. He was starting to see the signs for Scotland, and he knew that wasn't right. And so he's just devastated. And he's thinking, well, I've got the original journey plus all of this. And he was thinking, I'm the furthest away than I'm going to be for London. And his wife says, no, you're not. You were the furthest away when you were in Manchester. And he said, no, because I've gone further. And she said, yes, but you were always going to go that further and then go back. But the moment you turn around the car, you're already closer to London. The moment you stop driving away, you're already closer to the destination.
Oh,
and he said,
I've never even thought of it.
It's the same thing with sin. He said, the time you're heading in the wrong direction, you're going towards sin. When you start down that journey, that's when you're the furthest away from where you want to be. But at any moment, if you turn your car around and start heading for goodness, you're already closer to your destination. And every moment will be closer again.
I like
Isn't that beautiful?
That's incredible. I'll have to use that one.
Yeah, it just really, it struck me because it's like, we know that feeling of panic. When you're heading in the wrong direction, and then the feeling of hope when you at least starts to build as you turn it around.
Absolutely.
So this is in Chet, which is the 8th letter of the alphabet, it's verse 8. So V'yomer Kayin, and Cain said, El Hevel. Hang on, what's happened? Well, God's talking to him, and he's saying, turn yourself around. but it says V'yomer Kayin el Hevel achiv. He's speaking to Hevel, his brother.
Right.
So he's left God. He didn't say goodbye, but whatever. No, we missed it. And so immediately he's talking to his brother. So all we can do is hope that he's going there to apologize. V'yomer Kayin el Hevel achiv, and he said to Kayin did to Hevel, his brother, Vayihi behiotam. And so what this is it doesn't tell us what he said. It just says he's speaking to him. And it was in that they were being, it's a little difficult to translate, it doesn't go word for word, but it's in that they were bersadeh, in the field. So he's gone out to find them in the field, and he's going to speak to him. And what does he say? We don't know, but it says Vayakam Kayin. And kum, just like the campfire song Kumbaya. Kumbaya means in Hebrew, rise with God. But Vayakam, and he rose, Kayin, El Hevel, to his brother Hevel, Hevel Achiv, V'yahargehu. This is not a good word. So
no, and this is the surprising thing, is this is after Hashem warns him of his intent and how wrong it is.
Yes.
And what it's getting ready to lead to, and he completely ignores what has been given to him.
He doesn't turn his car around.
No, he moves straight on his, I just find that mind-boggling. Because most of the time we read that almost as if he killed his brother, and then God says, oh, but you can correct this. Sin's at the door. But no, he was warned before this happened, and he did.
There's so many times where we're lost, and all we would need, to have a little pep talk from the creator of the universe would change everything for us. This guy gets that personalized service from the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be him, the Borei Olam, the creator of the universe, and just straight into murder. It's crazy.
Which should help you to understand that if someone has murder on their heart, even an intervention from God himself is not going to stop a man who is hell-bent on doing something that is wrong. Like
he must have twisted his mind somehow.
Yeah, just crazy to me. So
just to do a moment on the grammar, we have harag, which is the word to kill, right? The yard, putting a yard on the beginning would say he will kill. Then putting a tense flipper flips it back into the past, and he killed. But it says at the end, who. And now, who is a really useful word to know. So who means he. So it says, and he killed him, just straight away. The whole thing is compressed within this one word. So it's worth knowing that who is he, and he is she, and hem is them, and hen is them when they're all female. Now that's a really frustrating one, because who sounds like you're asking the question who.
Right.
Who? He. Who is he? I don't know. And then he sounds like he, but he is she. Right. And people get annoyed with Hebrew about this, but you've got to remember, our language is newer than this one. They got there first, and we did it the other way.
You borrowed from Hebrew, right?
Yeah. So if you want to remember it, you've got to chant it. Who is he, and he is she, and hem is them, and hen is them when they're all female. So
there you go.
Put it there as a little note. Who is he?
I'm glad you have the little note there. That'll help. Somebody might want to screenshot that real quick. So
yeah, and I'll try and remember to put this little graphic in whenever we get that one of those words, just to remind us. But it'll do for now. So Tet is the 9th letter of the alphabet in Hebrew. Mm-hmm. So we're in the 9th verse. V'yomer Adonai al Kayin. He comes straight back. They were talking. He doesn't let a beat drop. It says A Hevel. Now A means where. A Hevel Achicha. Now, of course, we know what's going on. It's not like he doesn't know.
Right.
So if he knows where Hevel is, to the benefit of who is he asking? He's leading Kayin through a little journey. This is like Socratic questioning. He says, this is his way of saying, let's have a little chat. Right. You do it with kids, don't you? If you say, okay, who ate the cookie? Except this one, instead of cookie theft, is murder. So he says,
it's about like Hashem asking Adam, where are you?
Right. How did you get to this point? Where are you? What's happening here? How did this? Let's have the chat. This is
Right.
one generation later, so it's yeah, absolutely. So a Hevel, where's Hevel? Achicha, your brother. V'yomer lo yadati. Wow. Yada is the verb to know. And if you put a taf yod on the end, that means first person past tense. So any verb in the whole language, if you put taf yod on the end, it means I did it in the past.
Right.
So it's yadati means I know, I knew or I know, but this is lo yadati. I don't know.
I don't know.
So he's lying to the face of God. And then he says this, and this is the chutzpah that echoes through the ages. You see this questioning hey again? This turns this whole phrase into a question. Shomer is a guardian or a keeper. Achi is my brother. Anochi is the long form of ani, which means I. So this is the question. Has Shomer Achi Anochi means, am I my brother's keeper? Wow. How am I supposed to know what it is? What am I, his babysitter? You're saying with the chutzpah to God, to the Bari Olam? You're going to not just lie, but you're going to give him a bit of sass. Watch out. It's going to be more than a slipper that hits you. Right?
Right.
Dear oh dear. Just like you keep on trying to make room to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's not for me to judge him, but it's very hard not to. It's very hard to resist. Yod is the 10th letter of the alphabet. Sorry?
I said, no doubt. Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. My hearing is terrible. So Yod is the 10th letter of the alphabet. The Yomer Ma'asita. Now, this is a question that keeps on coming up. It comes up in the story of Abraham. It comes up in the story of Isaac. And it comes up in reverse in the story of Jacob. Ma means what? Asa means to do. And if you put the ta on the end, just like if you put t on the end of a verb, it means I did it. Ta means you did it. So asita means you did. The yomer ma'asita, what did you do? God is asking. Because it goes on to say kol. Kol is a voice with a kuf like this. Kol. But this is the voice of damei achika. Now dam is blood. And if you put a yod tsere and a yod on the end of a word, that means of. And achicha is your brother. Achi is brother, and achicha, the cha means yours. So kol damei achicha means the voice of the blood of your brother. And this just gives me goosebumps. So akim, it means to scream, but it's a particular kind of scream. It's the scream that God heard in the land of Sodom and Gomorrah. And it was the scream of the people that suffered in the violence and hatred of Sodom and Gomorrah. So that's why we see words like Tzoakim. So the voice of the blood of your brother, Tzoakim, screams a lie to me, min ha'adamah, from the ground. That's what God experiences if there's a murder. The victim screams out for justice, screams out in their suffering. This is something abhorrent, unspeakably violent. It's bad enough for people. We suffer horribly when someone is murdered, but we can't hear the victim. God can.
Right.
So we
and it's the cry of injustice. It really
absolutely
is. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because what did he do? He brought a good offering to God and it was accepted. That's his crime. And he gets murdered. So things get dark. It says, ata arurata. Now, I just want to make a point. You see this is ata and this is ata. The two words in yellow say ata. But this is with an ayin and this is with an aleph. So these are actually two different words. The aleph means you. Ata with an aleph is you. But ata with an ayin means now. And arur means cursed. Ata, arur ata. Now, cursed are you. Min ha'adamah. Now you remember that when Adam ate from the tree, he wasn't cursed.
Correct.
The ground was cursed from him, so that he was going to have difficulty. But this says that Cain is cursed from the ground. So what in the case of Adam, it meant, listen, you're going to have to, it's not going to be like Gan Eden. You're not going to be able to just pull fruit off the trees all the time. You're going to have to work a little bit. You're going to have to sweat a little bit, right? But this is saying to an arable farmer, to somebody who grows crops, you're cursed. You can't do this anymore. You've lost your livelihood. And that's just the beginning. So it says, Arurata min ha'adama, you are cursed from the ground. Asher, that patzta et piha. Patzta is a very unusual way to open. Normally we say patach, right? To open like a door or a jar or something is patach. But this is patzta, which is a very strange word. It says et piha. Now your P is your mouth. Your nose is your af al pi. Your ozen, your ayin. Your rosh is the whole thing. Your panna is your face, right? But your P is your mouth. And it has hat on the end because it says her mouth, right? So you are cursed from the land that opened her mouth. Lakachat et damei achicha. To take, should all be black, that's a coloring error. To take the blood of your brother, damei achicha, the blood of your brother, mi yadecha. This is your yad. So yadecha is your hand. Mi yadecha is from your hand. So you can't work with the ground anymore because you used it to cover your crime. She opened her mouth to accept the blood of your brother. Gross imagery. Deliberately awful imagery. And so because of that, you're separated. You can't be together. And that was his everything. That was his whole livelihood. Ki, because ta'avod et ha'adama, because you will work the adama, the ground, lo tosef, no more, right? No more tate, no more will she give kocha, her strength. If someone comes down from the bima, the dais, in an Ashkenazi synagogue, the Ashkenazi will say, Yasha koyak, that is, you should be strengthened, you should have power, more power to you because you are blessed by the Torah. So koach is that kind of power. And kocha is her power, as in the ground will not give you her ability, lach, to you. And then it says, na vanad, you will go. Na is to go. And nad is a nomad. So a nomad, tiyer ba'aretz, a nomad you will be in the land. Now, I think that's something to just dwell on for a moment. And maybe we're going to see his reaction next week. I don't know how we're doing for time.
We've got 2 minutes.
We've got 2 minutes because his reaction, you know, every time we kind of have this moment where God comes and speaks to him and you think, this is your opportunity to turn around. This is your opportunity to be sorry. This is your opportunity to take this seriously. And show, I mean, I always think about David. David does this terrible thing with Uriah, right? He falls in love with Uriah's wife and he wants to marry her, but she's already married. So he kind of comes up with this concocted plan. Now, we love David. David's a great guy, but even great people do terrible things sometimes. And he sends Uriah to the front line to die in battle so he can marry the wife. And the prophet calls him out on it. He uses a metaphor, and he tells a metaphor for a farmer who has great wealth that steals the lamb from a poor farmer that only has one lamb.
Right.
And David says, who is this terrible farmer? Let me destroy him. And he says, you're the farmer. And he realizes what's being described, and he bursts into tears. His heart breaks. He realizes the crime he does, and then he's forgiven right there because God and the prophet can really see that he really gets it. This is the opportunity for real change. And are we going to see that change in Cain?
Well, that's the question. That's the question that begs to be asked. What would have happened? Or here's the question begs to be asked: what would have happened if Cain would have rent his clothes and fallen before the presence of Hashem and confessed what he did and tried to rectify it? Would his punishment been the same? Or he never even acts like there is an alternative. He's like, okay, whatever.
It's always someone else's fault.
Right. It's like, and notice he says this. Cain says, my punishment is too great to bear. It's all about me.
That's it. That's it.
Right.
That's what we're faced with, is that he talks about his suffering.
Right. not the fact that Abel's family, or he dies, or his family
Yeah.
suffering.
Yeah.
What about me? This is too much for me to bear, which really is the testimony to a person who is living within the realm of sin, of
Yeah.
ego, of
Yeah.
of self-centeredness. This is a great place for us to pick up next week and drop
Yeah.
off now.
Yeah.
So
I think so. I
this is a
think
good place.
just like you say, it's the Maimonides thing. He's twisted his logic to
Right.
support his outcome.
Where his
And
response,
he's
after God says, you shall
sorry.
become a ceaseless wanderer on earth,
Yeah.
that's when he should have rent his garments, put on
Yeah.
sackcloth and ashes, and
And
mourned. But he didn't.
he's got access to God to find out, to say,
Right.
what can I do? Is there anything I can do to turn this around?
Right.
Can you bring him back? Can you fix this?
Right.
And we have access to his story. So
Right.
what we have to do is say, listen, we don't get an audience with God the way that Cain did,
Right.
but we get to be observers in his story and
Right.
say, how does this apply to my life? How can I not make his mistakes? How can
And this
I
is
do
a
better than what I'm doing now?
powerful lesson that I don't think that I've really examined that closely. But you realize that that is the condition of, there are two types of people in the world. Those who in the presence of Hashem forms themselves to Hashem, and those who hardens themselves in the presence of Hashem. They become hardened. They become like the pyros. They're like
Yeah.
the people that can give God the middle finger on the way to judgment. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Cain is
yeah,
like, it's all about him, bro. That's
yeah.
it.
You see it sometimes. You see it in teenagers,
Yes.
where you're saying, listen, I'm only doing this. I'm trying to get you to a good place. And for some reason, for those couple of years during all the hormones are flying around, they can't see it. It's
No.
like they're blinded to the
You
idea that they
hate
may have
me.
done something.
You hate
Yeah,
me.
you're just doing this because you just want me
Yeah.
to suffer. You just don't
Right.
want me to happy. And you're like, well, I've dedicated everything to you,
Yeah.
and you can't. And this is the same thing. It's like,
Yes.
have a little bit of humility.
God
Yeah.
forbid any of us, any pious person, any human would ever harden themselves in the presence of Hashem. And when I say the
Amen.
presence of
Amen.
Hashem, we're not talking about some blue aura. We're talking about the instruction of Torah and wisdom and life.
Amen.
You
Amen.
harden yourself in the light of all of the pleasantries and beauty that's in the world. It's on you. It's not on Hashem.
Yeah.
It really
And
is.
even if you've done it, you can still turn it around.
You can
There's
reverse
always
it.
that chance. As long as
That's
you're
the
breathing,
thing.
there's a chance to turn it around.
Right. I think that's the thing that bugs me about a lot of religious concepts that come out of Torah that's not Judaism. And that
Right.
is, they make Hashem look like that alcoholic father that's just waiting to beat the tar out of their child. And it's not the case. From the very beginning, God's demonstrated a tremendous amount of fatherly care for Adam and for Cain.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, here,
yeah.
you have the opportunity, just step over this.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
knew that he was getting ready to go kill his brother.
Yeah. Yeah. And he tried to dissuade him, but he also didn't want to take away his free will. And
Correct.
that's the big paradox. That's the big paradox about being a free human. If I take this out of your hand, you're just a robot. And a lot of the time, when we say, "Oh Lord, I'm not strong enough," listen, He knows how strong you are.
Right.
You can do
Right.
this.
Right.
Don't skip out of the game and give up and to say it's your fault. You have to make me better. No, you can do it.
You can.
He believes in you, right? He believes you can achieve this.
So true. That is so true, and which makes it a powerful testament to the fact that you have this free choice. You can make the choice, but you can also correct it as easy as you made it. And I think that's the most beautiful thing is, if you have the will to sin, you also have the will to live in light and redemption. It's not
every time you choose the good, it's easier to choose the next good. Just make just turn the car around. Start heading towards London. Make that little change.
I agree with that. I would say that, as you mentioned, how we said that sin lays itself like a red carpet out in front of you, so do mitzvahs.
Yeah.
When you do righteous acts, there is a red carpet laid out before you of more opportunities to give charity, to do kind things. So which one do you want to beget? Which one do you want to produce? Choose your liquor. That's how it works.
And which one will bring more good into your life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been a great Great podcast, guys. I hope to see you next week at the same time, same bat channels. Don't go away. Next Monday, 10 a.m. We'll see you right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. And if you want some private lessons, go to Moshe teaches at gmail.com. Moshe
I'm still off the mark, but I've got it here.
I always put it up, so don't worry. You don't have to put it up.
Okay, lovely.
Moshe teaches at gmail.com.
Wonderful.
We'll see you next week at the same time. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.